Ladies and gentlemen, hello. I would ask you to be seated. Ladies and gentlemen, if you could all please take your seats. Ladies and gentlemen, kings and queens, prime ministers and school children,
Goalkeepers, the show is about to begin. Please give your attention to the stage.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, if I could have your attention. Prime Ministers and saints. Can I just welcome you all here tonight to the Goalkeepers event. It's amazing to see so many friends and extraordinary people in the one hall. This is the second time we've given these awards, and they are without doubt the best award ceremony in the world, because other awards go to very bad people, as anybody who's watched the Oscars or the Tonys or the Grammys know. But these are the best awards because they go to the best people in the world, who I'm going to introduce you to later. Ladies and gentlemen, all the winners tonight are goalkeepers, people whose work is inspired by the goals and contributes towards the achievement of these extraordinary goals, which are going to make us the first generation to end extreme poverty and the most determined generation to end injustice and the last generation to be threatened by climate change. All of us have a moment in life when we are won over to the good side. In my case, I realized how incredibly important the fair distribution of wealth was when I found out that Julia Roberts was being paid $13 million for doing Notting Hill, the film I wrote for which I got paid very little indeed. And with a dream, in a dream world, those of you who are already not dedicating your lives to these goals will, during the course of the night, be so inspired by our winners that you will change your ways and spend as much time as you possibly can in the pursuit of these extraordinary things. I'd like to start by thanking our incredibly generous partners, Caterpillar, Pearson, Unilever, the World Economic Forum, the World Food Programme, and of course UNICEF and the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation for helping us stage this evening. Thank you very much. It's going to be an extraordinary night, I hope. Fabulous food, these wonderful awards. At the end of the evening, a performance by the great singer-songwriter Lily Allen, herself an extraordinary goalkeeper. And first, I would like to begin by introducing Melinda Gates. Now, it seems to me that Melinda is someone who wakes up every single morning with the utter determination every day of her life to take action to make sure that other people can enjoy safety, health, and happiness every day of their lives. Ladies and gentlemen, Melinda Gates.
Thank you, everyone, for being here tonight. I think I should start by thanking everyone for braving the weather and the New York traffic. I thought it was bad last year at UNGA, and we have certainly surpassed that and surpassed it this year. So just your presence here tonight and your energy of coming together on behalf of the world's poorest, I think is a huge statement of commitment. And so I want to say thank you to all of you for being here at this dinner tonight in this beautiful space. You know, it's inspiring to see so many amazing people out there who deeply care about these issues. And as Bill and I thought about coming to the UN this year, we really thought about how do we put a spotlight on those goals, those Sustainable Development Goals that the UN set, 193 nations, they set them 2 years ago. We're already 2 years in. It means we only have 13 years to reach them. And so that's what this Goalkeepers event is about tonight. And it's something we intend to do year after year after year to report on progress of how we're doing as a world against those goals. So it's a reminder about the Sustainable Development Goals that were set. It's a spotlight on some of the amazing things that are happening to help us move forward that progress. And it's a call to action to say we have more to do, and we know some of the incredible leaders who can help us do that work. So who are goalkeepers? Goalkeepers are people like you who are in this audience tonight. As we prepared our report and thought about what it would take to really achieve these Sustainable Development Goals, it all comes down to leadership. Every single time Bill and I travel, every time we see progress against these goals, we know that it's because of leaders. Leaders at the global level, leaders in country, and leaders at the grassroots level. And that's what we're here to do tonight, is to celebrate that leadership. Because this progress is not inevitable. If we don't keep up and sustain our momentum and our leadership, the world could fall back. But tonight is not talking about going backwards. Tonight is about talking about going forward, and how do we really celebrate those heroes of leadership. One of the things we've also been thinking through a little bit is about progress moving forward, and that the world is changing. You're hearing it in the news, you're seeing it in your communities. We're all talking about the change from automation and manufacturing to information technology. And one of the things that I'd like to announce tonight is that I'm going to have a group of leaders come together, and I'd like two of them to stand tonight if they would. Shri Mulani Undrawadi, if you would stand, and also Strive Mustepi, if you'd stand where you are. Strive Mosawani, if you'll stand where you are. There they are. We've decided to come together to create something called the Pathways of Prosperity next year. And that is exactly what it is to get a group of thought leaders together to talk about where is the world going, both north and south, east and west. Where are we going with digitization? How are we going to include everybody, not just people in certain countries or at the high income levels, but how do we make sure that digitization and the changes in the world are benefiting everybody? So I couldn't think of a better place to announce the fact that we're going to have this Pathways of Prosperity group coming together than at an event like tonight at Goalkeepers. So we'll have more details in the coming months, but in the spirit of sharing what we're thinking, I thought I'd at least mention that tonight. So my main goal, and in closing here, is to tell you to enjoy tonight. Let's cheer loudly for the award winners. As they come up, what you will start to learn tonight is nothing about what they're doing is cookie cutter. Nothing about what they're doing is business as usual. They have done some incredibly innovative things to move their communities and move the world forward. They are goalkeepers, they're changing the world, and we're here to celebrate them tonight. So thank you for being here, and it's my honor to bring up the next goalkeeper who's leading the way for all of us, Amina Mohammed. Amina?
Thank you, Melinda, and thank you, Richard. And it's really exciting to be in this room. I can tell you it's a lot more different from the last few hours in the General Assembly and the halls of the UN. We need to bring this in, and any minute now, Batman's going to come down. But thank you so much for having me. 4 years, a long journey, and many of you in this room were part of it. And at the end of it, it was whether we had 10 or 15 or 17, we got 17 goals. And we had amazing people like Richard and his team that tried to make sense of them so we could communicate them. We were trying to bring them out of the United Nations into the world where they needed to be. And there were 17 because the world is pretty messed up and it needed a response that everyone felt they could look at these goals and see themselves in them. And whichever way you look, I think you can find something. And when you find that one goal and you hang on to it, the other 16 make sense to that one goal. And so it was important that we tried on Goal 17 to really define what we meant by partnerships. Not partnerships that were the old ones with this government and the other government and the usual companies that we have, but partnerships that were innovative, partnerships that did things that were unusual because these goals are unusual. And it was the first time we talked about everyone, a universal agenda that made sure that we leave no one behind. And we really mean that. And I remember when we coined the phrase and everybody said that sounded really tacky. And I said, well, that's because you haven't identified the no ones who are voiceless, who have fallen through the cracks, and who we spend every day in the United Nations that we have the privilege to serve, trying to find a way to bring them on the inside and not on the outside. So this is an amazing opportunity. 2 years on, I went home after we had done the goals. I even had a plan to go around the world for 3 years, go see the Arctic, go to Bhutan, and I had to go back like 3 months early to be the Minister of Environment. And it was the last place I expected to be because, quite frankly, on the 38th floor of the United Nations, where we worked at the 2030 agenda, there was a gentleman called Bob Orr, and he was in charge of climate change and everything to do with that side. So it was really nice to say he was doing that and I was doing this, and suddenly I was back in Nigeria. Very, very difficult times and given environment. So was it the desertification, the dried up lake where Boko Haram was in the northeast? Was it the pollution in the Niger Delta where the militants were blowing up our revenue? Or was it really that land degradation had become such an issue with climate change that farmers and herdsmen, my tribesmen, were fighting and killing each other over the cattle or the land? So very real life issues that suddenly I thought, how do I bring the goals to help this? That's the litmus test. And we were able to do that. We did that with what we call a boring acronym, an NDC. And that NDC is a nationally determined contribution, a pipeline of projects that will do something. And we started to do that before Antonio Guterres said, come back to the United Nations. And it took a little time to really wake up to, he's real, you know, he's saying you've got to come back, and to come away from where you've got your hands in the issues and you're helping every day back up to the 38th floor in the United Nations is very difficult. But today, when I look to see what the Goalkeepers initiative is doing, the second time we're giving the awards, it is making real what we said about collective responsibility, defining it in ways where we identify real live heroes. Often people ask you who your hero is, and you might say your mother, possibly your father, and then you go on to talk about people that are no longer here. So it's not often that you get to talk about people in their daily lives who are doing amazing things, and to be able to bring them into this hall and to celebrate them, but also for them to inspire us to show how each one of these goals can be made a reality in many people's lives all around the world. And it's tough. Someone asked me a minute ago, so what is it that's uppermost on your mind today? Every day we have a list of catastrophes in this world, one conflict or another. But if you can look at the goals as solutions and know that there are people living day in, day out in these different contexts that the goals were set for, easy context, not so easy context, horrendous context, then you will see the meaning, and it will become much more fruitful, the dividends of that 4 years that we put into it for the next, as Melinda said, 13 years. 2 years are gone. So today, what's uppermost on my mind is the Rohingya in Myanmar. And I know that just after I think about that every day, I'm thinking about the earthquake in Mexico. And then what's happened to the Dominican Republic with the hurricane. So it still is about Myanmar. It's about our humanity, what's gone wrong. And in that, I say, how do we bring the goals to Myanmar? It's not just about what is happening to the Muslim Rohingya. It is the fact that there are root causes to it, in the same way we ask the question, how possibly could the Chibok girls be kidnapped? There are root causes to everything, and the goals are about addressing the root causes and not putting a Band-Aid on anything anymore. And the young people that are going to come up and receive the awards this year are the people who've taken off the Band-Aids, and they're brave enough to dig into the root causes and do something about it. So everyone, let's enjoy them and celebrate them, and thank you very much, and keep engaged, and let's keep doing it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Amina. And Amina's been such an enormous inspiration to me. Her determination and clarity and ruthlessness in getting the goals to where they are now is an example to all of us about not giving up and getting what you want. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm now just going to show you a little film to remind you, as it were, what the goals are for and where they come from. Every single person in every single country of the world is different, but there is one thing upon which we all must, should, and could agree.
Goalkeepers, please welcome to the stage Jaden Smith and Naomi Campbell.
Hello, hello.
Good evening, everybody. Welcome.
I am very honored to be a part of tonight's event. As a young person, I've dedicated myself to help build awareness, engagement around the global goals and their solutions. Just like the hashtag #TogetherBand campaign, which is setting out to engage over 1 billion people in the global goals. As a co-founder of Just Water and our nonprofit arm, Just Impact, and our impact platform, the SDG Engine, we are devoted to driving innovation, engineering around global energy, water, food solutions inside of the goals. Essentially, what we are doing is we are bridging the gap between the conversation and action and getting innovators onto the field to provide solutions how they deserve. I'm blessed to be here. Thank you very much for having us.
For over a decade, my organization, Fashion for Relief, has supported organizations that have strived to make the world a better place. I love it when fashion and philanthropy come together, and tonight we are thrilled to introduce the Bottle Top Together Band campaign, which launches next year. In front of each of you is a Together Band, which represents one of the global goals. The campaign will feature thousands of global influencers sharing the goals that matter most to them via social media. It's about individual and collective actions adding up to have an impact on the global scale. Together Band are made from zero deforestation leather and are helping to protect our precious Amazon rainforest, which is being destroyed. They are also creating livelihoods for women who are making them, so we are elevating poverty. In fact, they address 9 of the goals by the way that they are made. So by wearing one, you're already a champion for many. It's going to be buy one, get one campaign. So the question is, who are you going to give your Together Band to? Please can everyone in the room get their Together Band and put it on the person that's sitting to their right. They are in the bowls in front of you. I don't know if it's a selfie time. No one's trying it. You're just wrapping it. And you just slide the knot. You slide it across to adjust the knot, Matthew. Have you got it on? Okay, so now we're going to do, has everyone got their Together Band on? I think we can do our selfie now, can we?
Alrighty guys, we're gonna take a selfie here on stage. Anybody that has their Together Band on, please show it up high so we can see you in the background. You ready? You wanna take it?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Alrighty guys, you ready?
Got it?
We did it.
Thank you, good night all.
Have a blessed night, everybody.
Thank you.
Good night, thank you.
Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for doing that. And can I just say, can I have your attention? Behave. Ladies and gentlemen, dinner is near. Dinner is near, and before we have it, I thought that I would introduce you to 3 of the chefs who are responsible for the extraordinary food that you're about to eat. They are all from the James Beard Foundation, and I hope that you will give a hungry welcome to Mary Sue Milliken, Bryant Terry, and Dan Barber. There we go. Now they're just going to explain a little bit about the meaning of the meal, because everything tonight is very meaningful. So, Mary Sue, tell us about the traditions that have inspired this meal.
Well, first I just want to say thank you to the James Beard Foundation for connecting us with the organizers so that we could put our shared sustainability goals right onto the plate and we could actually walk the walk together tonight.
Yep.
And, you know, traditions have evolved over thousands of years, and there's many ingenious ways to use all the resources the planet gives us. And they're very rich and complex traditions that are really quite amazing. They nurture our bodies.
Ladies and gentlemen, quiet please.
So
I tell you, what is amazing about today is you are sitting at a table with the very most interesting people you will ever meet. But if you could hold off talking to them for 5 minutes, we can hear about the food you'll all be eating.
So your first course was a gazpacho, which is made with the copious amounts of tomatoes and cucumbers and peppers that are available right now. Your last course, your dessert, is going to be made with leftover bread that was on its way to the trash, but was revived with the local Italian plums in a bread pudding. And then you're going to have a lot of focus on plant-based foods. You're going to have braised greens, and you have black-eyed peas, and then some shell beans. And that's all going to focus our plate on plant-based foods and not so much on animal proteins, which is going to get us to our goal, which is good for the planet and good for our bodies.
Fantastic. Tell us about the local sourcing of the food.
So we hear a lot about the trend of eating locally and seasonally these days, but we often don't hear enough about why that's a good thing. Can everyone hear me? Except for the fact that eating locally and seasonally is so much more delicious. But local foods contribute to local economies, a boon for sustainable development, especially when those economies are based in agriculture. When we have food that's grown in a local geographic area, it resonates with the community. The food becomes a part of the traditions of that community, and it builds resilience not only in the health and the diets of those communities, but also in local economies. The millet that thank you. The pearl millet that you'll be enjoying in the millet cakes is a traditional staple in many sub-Saharan African countries. It's nutrient dense, it's hearty, it's delicious. If you haven't had millet before, I hope you enjoy it. A lot of people outside of that part of the world aren't familiar with it. I think it's important that we understand that we use a lot of traditional cooking techniques in this meal: canning, pickling, preserving, and we are serving this part of the meal family style because we want to underscore the importance of commensality. We would like you to break bread and build community and share, and we really hope we pull that off, and we hope that you enjoy the meal. Thank you.
And Dan, just a word about sustainability in this meal.
Sustainability?
Yeah.
Can I give a plug for deliciousness? Everyone raise their hand. Deliciousness? Yes? Who's got a bread basket? Can you hold up that bread basket right there on table 4? Thank you, table 4. Table 4 is going to win the bread basket tonight. Here, I'm going to give you a recipe for the bread to define sustainability. This bread is made from a brand new wheat that we bred over the last 5 years. You're the first people to taste this in New York City. It is a wheat that has been bred for great disease resistance. It's bred for great yield. But number one, far and away, it's bred for deliciousness. It's 100% whole wheat bread. Here's the recipe. I have no secrets here. Here's the recipe. Water, salt, and whole wheat. 100% whole wheat. And it's a radical idea because no one is breeding for whole wheat. We're breeding for white bread. And if we bred for whole wheat, we might get wheat and we might get bread that tastes just like this. So the definition of sustainability for all of us has got to be remembering some of these traditions of the past, whole wheat, but also looking at the future and applying it with some technology and some thought and some concentration on pleasure. Enjoy tonight. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed. Ladies and gentlemen, time to tuck into your food. You've got these goalkeeper cards, which we're asking you to make commitments on. They're not very profound commitments. You don't have to be faithful to anyone else, but enjoy yourself, eat well, and afterwards, the rewards of the awards.